There is a sea in the heart of the ancient world named for a dead king, and sailors still speak his name. He died on the very day his son came home in triumph. He died because of a color. You have heard about the monster in the maze. You have heard about the hero with the sword. But the monster did not build the maze, and the hero did not end the curse that filled it. This is the story of a debt owed to the sea, passed down from father to son for 3 generations. So hold one question in your mind until the very end. Can a man kill a curse without feeding it? To find the answer, we have to leave the hero behind and sail south to the beginning of everything. Because before there was a maze, before there was a monster, there was a bull that walked out of the sea. Chapter 1. The Bull from the Sea. Crete rises out of the southern sea, a spine of gray mountains wrapped in olive groves, salt wind, and secrets. On its northern shore sprawls Knossos, a palace so vast that strangers lose their way inside its painted halls. Its ruler is Minos, a son of Zeus himself, born of a thundering god and a stolen Phoenician princess. But divine blood alone does not hold a throne. Minos has rivals, and rivals whisper that he was never chosen. So Minos stakes his crown on a gamble. He walks down to the shore and prays aloud to Poseidon. He asks the sea god for a sign, a bull risen from the waves, and swears to sacrifice it in return. For a long moment the water lies still. Then the sea swells and something white rises through the foam. A bull walks out of the surf, enormous and flawless, its hide as bright as moonlight lying on snow. Every man on that beach drops to his knees in the sand. The god has answered. Minos will be king. But at the altar, with the blade raised, Minos hesitates. The animal is too magnificent, too perfect to burn. Greed does its quiet work in him. He hides the white bull among his herds and kills a lesser beast. He tells himself the sea did not notice. He tells himself a god can be paid with a substitute. Far below the waves, Poseidon watches the smoke of the false offering rise, and the sea god begins to plan. He does not strike the king down. That would be mercy. He aims his punishment at the king's own house. The curse falls on Pasiphae, the beautiful queen of Crete, a daughter of the sun with amber eyes. She wakes one morning with a hunger coiled in her chest, a longing that no human love can answer. The god has bent her heart toward the white bull grazing in the royal meadow, and she cannot straighten it. She fights it with everything she has. She locks her doors. She prays to every god whose name she knows. No answer ever comes. A curse thrown by Poseidon cannot be lifted by weeping, and Pasiphae stops weeping. In her desperation, the queen sends for the one man on Crete who has never met a problem he cannot solve. His name is Daedalus, an exiled craftsman out of Athens, the most dangerous and brilliant mind of his age. Daedalus knows he should refuse her. He knows it. But no one has ever asked him for the impossible before. In a hidden workshop, he builds a hollow cow of wood and hide, so perfect it fools the whole herd. What happens next happens in darkness, out in the meadow, beneath a sky that turns its face away from Crete. Months later, midwives are summoned to the queen's chamber in the dead of night, and their cries wake the palace. Pasiphae has given birth. The child in her arms has a boy's small body and the head of a bull. She names him Asterion. It means the starry one. She will be the only soul who ever loves him. Minos looks down at the infant and sees his own sin staring back at him through dark animal eyes. He cannot bring himself to kill it. The child is a message from Poseidon, and you do not burn a god's message. So the boy grows in hidden rooms, gentle at first, confused, reaching for a mother he is rarely allowed to see. But the hunger comes in with the horns. As Asterion grows, no food from any kitchen on Crete will satisfy him. By his 10th year, the thing in the hidden rooms is strong enough to tear bronze doors from their hinges. So Minos summons Daedalus once more and orders him to build a prison that no living creature can ever escape. Beneath the palace of Knossos, Daedalus sinks the labyrinth, a maze of cold stone that folds back on itself like a nightmare. Its corridors branch and circle and deceive. Even Daedalus, the man who built it, barely finds his own way out. Into that darkness, soldiers with torches drive the creature that no one in the palace will call Asterion anymore. The world gives him a new name instead, the Minotaur, the Bull of Minos, a name that wears the father's guilt. And at night, the palace above feels the floors tremble. Something below is bellowing in the dark. And it is hungry. Chapter 2. The Price of a Prince. Far across the sea in Athens, King Aegeus rules a proud city that has no idea what is coming for it. Because Minos has a mortal son as well, a shining boy named Androgeus, an athlete with no equal alive. Androgeus sails to Athens for the great games, and he wins everything, every race, every throw, every single crown. The Athenians watch this Cretan prince carry off their glory, and their envy slowly curdles into something much darker. On a lonely road outside the city walls, in the dark, Androgeus is ambushed, and the prince never comes home. When the news reaches Crete, the sound that comes out of Minos shakes the painted walls of Knossos. His grief becomes a fleet. Cretan warships blacken the horizon, and Athens learns what a son of Zeus can do. Minos does not bring soldiers alone. His father sends thunder over the city, and the gods send plague behind it. Drought strangles the fields of Athens. Sickness creeps along her streets. The proud city starves slowly behind her own walls. Aegeus sends to the oracle for guidance and receives an answer colder than any sword. Give Minos whatever he demands. And Minos, standing in the ashes of his fatherhood, demands the cruelest tribute a grieving mind has ever invented. Every 9 years, Athens must choose 7 of her young men and 7 of her young women by lottery. They will sail to Crete with no weapons, no trial, and no hope. They will enter the Labyrinth. And they will feed the thing that waits at its center, the monster born of the White Bull's curse. It is a punishment of terrible symmetry. Athens took his child from him. Now Athens will hand over hers forever. Twice, the tribute ship crosses the sea under black sails. Twice, 14 Athenian families bury coffins with nothing inside them. The ship returns empty both times. No survivor, no witness, no trace. The labyrinth keeps everything it is given. In Athens, mothers begin counting the years the way sailors watch a horizon for storms. The third lottery is coming, and in the dark beneath Knossos, the Minotaur has learned the taste that will damn him in every story ever told. The curse of the White Bull is complete. It has crossed the sea. Now it only needs a hero to feed on. Chapter 3. The Volunteer. The third lottery falls on Athens like a hammer. In the great square, the bronze urn waits to swallow names. But this year, before a single name is drawn, a young man pushes out of the crowd and raises his hand. His name is Theseus. He is the son of King Aegeus, newly arrived in Athens, newly claimed, and already famous. He walked to his father's city through bandit country, and he left that road far cleaner than he found it. Now the young prince looks at the urn, at the weeping mothers, and volunteers to sail as one of the 14. The whole square goes silent. Nobody volunteers for the labyrinth. Nobody in living memory has ever come back from it. Theseus swears before them all that he is not sailing to Crete to die. He is sailing to kill the Minotaur. Aegeus begs his son to stay. The old man already lost this boy once for the whole of his childhood. Theseus will not be moved. A king's son does not watch children sail to slaughter while he can hold a sword. So the old king asks for one mercy instead, one small thread of hope to hold on to while he waits. The tribute ship always sails under black sails, the color of mourning, because everyone aboard is already counted among the dead. If Theseus survives, he must raise white sails for the voyage home, so his father will know from the cliffs. Theseus takes his father's trembling hands and swears it. Remember this promise, everything that follows will hang from it. The black ship slides out of the harbor, and Aegeus watches until the sails are a wound on the horizon. For days, the black ship runs south, and the 14 aboard say very little, watching the water carry them toward Crete. Then Crete rises from the sea, and 14 Athenians get their first sight of the palace of Knossos. It sprawls across the hillside like a city in its own right, red columns blazing, double axes carved into every stone. King Minos comes down to inspect the tribute on the harbor stones, the way a farmer walks a line of cattle. But Theseus does not lower his eyes like a victim. He stares straight back into the face of the king. And from a high palace window above the harbor, someone else is staring down at the Athenian, who will not bow. Ariadne, daughter of Minos, princess of Crete, watches Theseus the way a prisoner watches a door swing open. She has spent her whole life above the labyrinth, listening to it roar, ashamed of what her family feeds it. She knows exactly what happens to the ones who go inside. She has counted every one of them since childhood. So that night, while the palace sleeps, Ariadne slips past the guards into the chamber where the prisoners are kept. She offers Theseus a bargain in the dark. She will help him survive the maze if he carries her away. Take her across the sea to Athens, make her his wife. Cut her free from her father's house of guilt. Theseus agrees without a heartbeat of hesitation. In the dark, promises cost nothing. He will learn their true price later. Ariadne goes to Daedalus, the only living man who understands the labyrinth, and begs the old craftsman for its secret. What he gives her looks absurdly simple. A wooden spindle wound tight with bright thread, small enough to hide in a fist. Tie one end fast at the entrance, he tells her, and no maze on earth can swallow the man holding the other. At dawn, guards march the 14 Athenians down into the roots of the palace to a bronze door taller than 2 men. The door grinds open onto pure darkness, and cold air breathes out of it like the mouth of something alive. Chapter 4. The Labyrinth. Theseus steps into the dark first, Ariadne's thread knotted fast at the doorpost, her stolen blade cold against his ribs. Behind him, the bronze door booms shut, and the last thin line of daylight vanishes like a snuffed candle. The other tributes huddle near the entrance as agreed. Theseus walks on alone, unspooling bright thread into the blackness. The labyrinth is not a building. It is a lie told in stone, and it starts lying to him immediately. Corridors split into corridors. Stairways sink into passages that climb back to the very place where they began. The walls are scarred at shoulder height with long, desperate scratches left behind by the ones who came before him. The air grows warm and thick as he descends, smelling of animal, of old straw, of something far worse beneath. Then, through the stone itself, Theseus hears it for the first time, breathing. Slow and enormous and wide awake. He follows the sound deeper, paying out thread behind him, counting his own heartbeats to keep the fear from ruling him. The passages widen. Burned-out torches line the walls like ribs. He is walking into the heart of the maze. And there, in a vaulted chamber lit by one thin shaft of moonlight falling from far above, it is waiting. The Minotaur rises taller than any man alive, shoulders like a bull's, horns spread wider than a temple doorway. A lifetime alone in the dark has made him the god of this one small buried kingdom of stone. He turns toward the smell of the intruder, and for one long heartbeat, the two of them simply look at each other. Because somewhere behind those black eyes is Asterion, the starry one, the child that nobody was ever allowed to love. Then the moment shatters, and the monster charges with a bellow that shakes dust from the vaulted roof above them. Theseus throws himself aside, and the horns strike the wall where he stood, cracking the great stones like dry pottery. They circle each other in the shaft of moonlight, man and monster, the thread lying between them like a river of fate. Again the charge, again the desperate dive, and this time a horn rips through the shoulder of the prince's tunic. Theseus understands he cannot win with strength, so he does what heroes are truly made of. He waits and he watches. The Minotaur charges a third time, head low, blind with rage, and Theseus holds his ground until the final instant. Then he seizes one great horn, swings himself up across the creature's back, and drives the hidden blade home. The bellow that follows rolls up through the labyrinth, up through the palace floors, into the dreams of sleeping Crete. In her chamber, Ariadne hears it and goes pale. In his chamber, Minos hears it, and the king knows. Down in the moonlit chamber, the Minotaur sinks to his knees, and his great shadow folds against the wall, then stills. Theseus stands over the silence, shaking. He came down here to kill a monster. What lies at his feet looks smaller, but there is no time left for wondering. He takes up the thread and follows it back through the lying dark. Turn after turn after turn, the bright thread leads him home through a maze that has never given anything back. At the bronze door, 13 Athenians weep at the sight of him alive, and Ariadne is waiting with the stolen keys. They run for the harbor beneath a sinking moon, 14 tributes, 1 runaway princess, and a promise already beginning to fray. Theseus staves in the hulls of the Cretan warships behind them, and the black ship slips out onto the open sea. Chapter 5. The Color of Grief. The black ship runs north with the wind, and behind it, Crete seethes with the fury of a humiliated king. On deck, the rescued Athenians laugh and weep and dance. They were dead, and now they are going home. Ariadne stands at the prow with her hair full of wind, watching her old life sink beneath the horizon forever. Halfway home, the ship drops anchor at the island of Knossos so the exhausted crew can rest and take on water. Ariadne falls asleep on the quiet beach, wrapped in a sailor's cloak, dreaming of a wedding waiting in Athens. And in the gray light before dawn, Theseus orders his crew to raise the anchor and sail without her. Why he does it, no telling can say. Perhaps a god commanded it. Perhaps he stopped wanting what he had won. The oars dip without a sound. The ship slides off into the mist. The hero runs away from a sleeping girl. Ariadne wakes to gulls and silence and sees nothing on the whole wide sea but empty, glittering morning light. She screams his name at the horizon until her voice is gone. The horizon gives her nothing back at all. But the gods remember what heroes forget. Dionysus himself will find Ariadne on that shore and make her his bride. Her wedding crown will be set among the stars, where it still burns at night, brighter than the man who left. Yet betrayal is a debt, and the gods always collect. What Theseus did at dawn does not stay behind on Knossos, because on that ship, somewhere in the days that follow, something small and fatal happens. Theseus simply forgets. Maybe it is guilt, fogging his mind like weather off the sea. Maybe it is glory, crowding out everything else. Whatever the reason, the ship carrying the victorious hero home to Athens is still flying its black sails of mourning. And on a white cliff above the sea, an old man has stood watching every single day since the ship left. Aegeus barely eats. He barely sleeps. He watches the water from first light to last, waiting for a fleck of white. On the last morning, a sail finally climbs over the edge of the world, and the old king's heart climbs with it. He shades his eyes with both hands. He squints against the glare, and the sail coming toward him is black. Black for mourning, black for the already dead, black for the boy who swore on his hands to remember. Aegeus does not cry out, and he does not wait for certainty. He simply steps forward off the cliff into the sky. The water that receives him will carry his name until the end of language. Men still call it the Aegean Sea. Hours later, Theseus sails into the harbor of Athens expecting flowers and cheering, and finds a city draped in black. They tell him what the sails did, and the people watch the triumph drain out of their new hero's face forever. He killed the monster. He saved the 14, and one small act of carelessness has killed his own waiting father. That same day, through his father's death, Theseus becomes king of Athens. The throne comes to him dressed in mourning. Look at the shape of it. The curse Poseidon sent against Crete has crossed the sea and taken an Athenian king. Minos lost his son and became a tyrant. Aegeus lost his son twice, and in the end he became a sea. And Theseus, who sailed out to break the cycle of death, is crowned by it. The curse fed on him after all. Back on Crete, the rage of Minos needs somewhere to land, and it lands on Daedalus, builder of cows and mazes. The king locks the old craftsman in a high tower with his young son Icarus above the sea, below the sun. You may already know how that ends. Wings of wax and feathers, a boy who flew too high, another father robbed. The white bull's curse just keeps collecting fathers and sons, generation after generation, like a tide that never once turns. Then, 3,000 years later, on a quiet Cretan hillside, archaeologists cut into a mound and strike red-painted columns. It is Knossos. The palace is real. Its floor plan sprawls into more than 1,000 chambered rooms, a maze in truth. And on its walls they find frescoes of young athletes, boys and girls together, vaulting over the horns of enormous bulls. Somewhere behind the myth, real children may have faced real bulls in the bright courts of a real sea kingdom. Perhaps frightened mainland towns really did send their young across the water and told stories about the place that took them. Perhaps the Minotaur was never a creature at all, only the long memory of a palace that swallowed the young. So return to the question we began with. Can a man ever kill a curse without feeding it himself? Theseus went down into the dark and did what no one else on earth dared. The monster died. The tribute ended. But the curse walked out of the labyrinth holding his hand, and it wore those black sails like a crown. And that is why the sea between Athens and Crete still carries the name of a father who died of hope. Every wave that breaks on those shores is the same quiet warning spoken over and over. Remember the sails. The labyrinth keeps its dead. The sea keeps its name.